G'day guys, welcome back to this in a long series now, over 50 videos of Nathan Bell discussing society, culture, politics and everything in between. Don't forget to like and subscribe whatever platform you're on, it really helps Nate out, and then give this video a share with someone who you think might like it. This video is about regulating language.
Yeah, well, I've thought a lot about regulating language, like political correctness and how should people speak. Is hate speech acceptable? Is it acceptable to incite violence or call for violent revolution? Should speech be controlled? One thing I thought was I don't like hate. I don't like cruelty, and I wish we could eradicate cruelty from the world. I've seen a lot of cruelty in my life. Now, one thing I've thought is, could you delete an idea, a hateful idea, from society? Could you delete it from the world? If you ban the word faggot, which has negative, hateful connotations towards homosexual people, by banning that word, after a few generations it will be forgotten. Does that mean that the idea of hating homosexuals will then be forgotten from society? Can you actually delete hatred by deleting hateful words and banning them until they are forgotten? But it's all about freedom of speech. But the thing I want to say about freedom of speech, in my mind, freedom of speech doesn't entitle you the right to use hateful language towards people. For example, freedom of speech doesn't mean that it's okay to say we want to kill Jewish people. My view of freedom of speech is freedom of speech means that you have the legal right to speak openly about politics so that we can discuss the issues that are relevant to our society, so that as a community we can debate and discuss the relevant issues so that we can vote and coordinate our society. So, there's nothing political. It doesn't serve any political debate to call someone a piece of shit and to constantly abuse them and to talk down to them and to use slander and to hurtful language towards them. And this is like bullying, and it happens a lot. And if you look at how Australians talk, we insult each other a lot, and we're very cruel. It's ingrained in our culture to use demeaning language and cruel language. So what I thought was, I find the world a very cruel place, and I find that there's a lot of ingrained cultural cruelty in the world. And I wondered, how would you end that? And I thought, well, what if we outlaw demeaning language and insulting language towards others? Will that then create a more civil society where people are polite and friendly, and will that then help us develop more positive psychologies and a more positive mindset towards others? Because I've said before, my view of Australian culture is that the attitudes for a lot of Australians, not all Australians are, but people don't really value each other's lives, and I think that's the case in a lot of humanity. There's a lot of I don't want to be too negative. There's some wonderful, loving, compassionate people who care about others in the world, and I've known many people who care and love others, but I've also known a lot of people who just have no regard for others at all, and that's like an ingrained value system where people don't view each other as deserving of value and respect. So I thought if we could train people, because words form our psychology. Words are our understanding of the world, So, like, I'm really good at English, and I think it helps me understand the world better, And so we formulate our ideas and our understanding of the world through words. So if we're constantly using hateful words and demeaning language and words that degrade people and dehumanize people, we're constantly reinforcing in our minds that we don't have to value people. And one thing I really want is for people to value human life. Like, I really value human life, so I want people to value human life. So I see controlling language, encouraging positive language and supportive language, and friendly language as a way to train people to care about each other, because words almost train how we think. I'm mixed. I'm in mixed feelings about controlling language, because I also think, absolutely there are circumstances where it's all right to abuse people. Now, I think the Australian government's position is that no abuse is acceptable, and I think abusive language is a crime in this country. I think it can be charged as a verbal assault. But there are situations where it's okay to be abusive to people. It's like if you see someone standing in the street calling to mass murder people, you've got the right to abuse them. So, because some people call for heinous things. I often think, if I see a guy driving down the street, he's pissed out of his mind. He's got, 3 kids in the car, no seatbelts on, and he's drink driving. Do I have the right to shout out, "You're a fucking piece of shit, wake up to yourself"? That's abuse. And the guy's doing something grossly irresponsible. So do I have the right to abuse him? The question is, should we outlaw abusive language? And then when we outlaw abusive language, we're basically saying that you've got to be polite to everyone. But what if someone's doing something where they don't deserve you to be polite to them? It's like, I suppose the idea is we should treat everyone with respect, and the law should say that we're obligated to treat everyone with respect. But what if I think we don't have to treat everyone with respect? Do we have to respect every human being? So I'm in mixed feelings about it, because ultimately I want every human being to live a good life, and I want people to be treated with respect. But then I look at some people and what they promote and the things they're about and the things they do and the actions they take, and I think, well, you don't deserve my respect. But as an idealist, I wish we could respect every human, and every human could learn to live a productive, valuable life and get along. So in my book, 22nd Century Man, which is based loosely off the Sylvester Stallone movie Demolition Man, language is heavily regulated, so you can't say anything insulting or demeaning anymore. You can't be cruel. You're to be friendly to people all the time. And what the state is trying to achieve in my book, 22nd Century Man, they're trying to build a friendly society where everyone's friendly all the time. So you've got to see the power of language, because if we could change language and we could control language so that people only used supportive, uplifting, kind language, in 100 years everyone would then be in this psychological state where they'd be very kind and friendly people, and they'd be very respectful, because words form and language helps us form our psychological understanding of how the world works. So, if you've got all these negative, hateful language in your head, you're probably going to prescribe to negative, hateful values. And if you've got all this positive, loving, compassionate language in your head, you're probably going to prescribe to positive, loving, compassionate values. So, the language that gets fed into your head will program your psychology, and then that will be reflected in your behaviour, because that forms how you view other people. So in 22nd Century Man, language is heavily regulated, and if you use insulting or slanderous, demeaning language in 22nd Century Man, you'll be given a fine, first of all, like in Demolition Man, but then you'll be sent to a psychiatrist who evaluates whether you need to be re-educated. And if it's seen that you're going to repeatedly use demeaning and derogatory and cruel language, you'll be sent to a re-education centre where, over the course of however long it takes, months and years, you'll be reprogrammed to speak and think in a polite and respectful way. So I think people who want to outlaw abusive language, I do think they have a vision where they want to build a world where people are polite and respectful to each other. But, what about jokes amongst friends? Can we say insulting things to our friends? I mean, some people are too sensitive. What I don't like when strangers attack me with verbal attacks, when they make assumptions about me and they attack me. Like, I've had people come along to me and say, "Oh, you're a lowlife, you're a dog, you're a creep, you're a criminal, you're a scumbag." None of those things are true, and it's coming from a total stranger. So I see that as an inappropriate attack. Someone who doesn't know me, making a bunch of assumptions about me and verbally abusing me and attacking me is inappropriate. But if I'm standing with my friends and we tell each other, we're insulting towards each other, and we make insulting remarks like, "Oh, you piece of shit, fuck off, you loser," among friends, we all have an agreement that we like each other, but I don't want to get attacked by outsiders who are coming in being very cruel and demeaning to me because they're a cruel and demeaning person. So there's, think about regulating language and how a very strictly controlled language society would be. And you'll be able to read my book 22nd Century Man soon to see how the world has changed in 22nd Century Man around language control. But there's some of my thoughts on language control and that discussion. So subscribe to my channel, guys. Give it a like and a share.